Okay, let me just make sure here. Okay, I'm just trying to close a few things here so to make sure they
Yeah.
don't make any sound here.
Okay.
And then I'll have this ready here to move here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Welcome everybody to episode 36, Practical Psychology Podcast. My name is Joseph Wong. I'm one of the co-hosts. Today, we are very happy to have Wish, registered psychotherapist qualifying in Toronto. And Wish, last time you come to talk about the dopamine 4 matrix model.
Oh,
We're
yes.
very interested to hear more. Thank you, Wish.
Thank you, Joseph, for that wonderful introduction again. And I'm really excited, as always, to be in touch with you and talk about so many topics here. So,
Yeah,
so the last time we spoke about dopamine regulation, right, and how it shows up in everyday life, and how if there is some kind of inconsistency in dopamine regulation, or if a person is deficient in dopamine regulation, right, in how the brain processes dopamine, that can show up as a lot of um, addiction type behaviors because you don't have dopamine, right?
yes.
So I just want to
Mm,
preface that, when I talk about addiction, what I mean is um, anything that gives you unnatural spike of dopamine, right? So addiction in itself has a lot of stigma, right? So when we think about addiction, we are thinking about a person doing cocaine or heroin or an alcoholic, right? So I just want to mention that when I say addiction, it can seem as simple as just going through your phone for longer periods of time, or um, or even having a glass of wine at the end of the day. If you cannot cope without something that's giving you a lot of happiness, like binge eating or shopping, if you're not able to cope in your everyday life, that is also termed or defined as addiction. So I just want to preface that when I say addiction, I'm not just speaking about the hard drugs or alcohol. I'm speaking about the everyday items that we use to cope, right?
And thank you, Wish here. You are mentioning about the addiction is the spike in the dopamine here. Thank you for letting us know.
Yes, yes. And it doesn't have to be suppose you doom scroll for like 2, 3 hours. So there is a spike for sure, but it does not adapt your brain for the baseline of the dopamine. So you do it consistently for a longer period of time. So suppose you do it for weeks together, or months, or years, right? So your brain kind of adapts to that level of dopamine, and then it becomes addiction, and then it becomes something that you cannot cope without, like your everyday life becomes harder, like you need to do that. So that is what is like addiction, addictive behaviors.
Oh, so you Wish you mentioned about some activities like doom scrolling
Mhm.
will raise the dopamine level to a high level constantly. It create a problems.
Yes, yes, that's true. And when you look at hard, unnatural dopamines, right? Like, alcohol, there's a lot of dopamine that's released when you have a glass of alcohol. It's not just dopamine,
Mm.
there is GABA, there is norepinephrine. You feel really good, you're very calm and confident. So, all of those chemicals are having an unnatural spike. So our brain is so interesting that it adapts to anything you give it, right? So you give it consistent dopamine unnaturally for a long period of time, it adapts to it, and it down regulates the dopamine that it naturally produces,
Mm.
right? It's the same with the body as well. You can become
Mm.
tolerant to medications, right? Sometimes they increase your dose because it's not working effectively. So you get
Mm.
adapted to it. And the same cycle happens with addiction as well. So one
Mm.
one glass of wine isn't enough. One cigarette isn't enough. You need more of it to to just to feel normal, right? So, and
Mm.
that is how the cycle of addiction happens, right? Um, I also wanted to talk about when you are having inconsistent brain chemistry with dopamine, right? Due
Oh.
to substance use, right? What happens is, because you don't have that substance when you're sober. Suppose, for example, you have every day you have wine, a glass of wine, right? So the next day, what happens is your dopamine has crashed below the baseline because you're sober, and your brain is trying to stabilize its chemicals, right? So it down regulates its own dopamine. And when that happens, like we spoke about the pain pleasure balance, right? So it is going to give you more pain. So when I say pain, what happens is your brain doesn't know what is going wrong. So it picks on what is happening with you and says, "This is why I am sad," right? So it tries to fills the gap of why it is sad
Mm.
or why it's irritated or things like that. So what this does is, your external circumstances, right? Suppose you didn't get the job you wanted, or suppose you had your partner cheat on you. For sure, these are like extreme cases, and these are very painful. But when you are in a dopamine deficient state, or if you are addicted to a substance, the day that you become sober, the next day, right? All of that hits you too hard because your brain is trying to it's trying to understand what is wrong, and it doesn't know what is wrong, and the external circumstances are 10 times more painful than it actually is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Wish, you mentioned it looks like there's a four-step process here. You mentioned the first step is the unnatural dopamine hit,
Yeah.
like alcohol, doom scrolling, using substance.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is the brain is very adaptable. The brain adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then number three, the brain will down regulate the dopamine. I
Yeah.
guess you're meaning they will produce less dopamine naturally. And
Yes.
then number four is the brain will try to balance it with the pain and pleasure. And then leading to number six is the really bad mood.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm.
if you see people who are using substances actively, right? When they have external events that are painful, right? For if they were a person who was not using substances, it would be easier for them to cope with the hard
Mm.
life circumstances.
Yeah.
What I'm
Mm.
trying to say is, when you introduce a substance which causes unnatural spike, it makes
Yes.
you get stuck in that cycle because
Okay.
the life circumstances look really painful, like you can't cope with it. And you do need this substance to cope with it. So, this is like the toxic cycle
Mm.
that happens with addiction.
Oh yeah, because you're mentioning which here the natural balance of dopamine is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, life circumstances become even more difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And when we don't have awareness about this, what happens is you do reach out for that glass of alcohol or that next cannabis or cigarette or
Mm.
whatever substance you're using, thinking that it helps you cope with the reality. But in
Mm.
turn, it's making it worse. Th-
Okay.
this is the awareness that is missed in clients in everyday life. Like, we don't really know that it's actually making it worse.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to catch those habits that we might be doing it without thinking about it on a daily basis. That
Yeah.
cause an effect.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And it will take a lot of time to understand this cycle and break it, because it's not just your logical mind which understands this. Like, I'm talking about it,
Mm.
and you understand it. It's also your brain chemistry. your physical health, which is also addicted. It's not just your brain, right? So your body and your brain are codependent on the substance, and it takes a while for it to stabilize once you
Yeah.
let go of it. So that is why we have therapy that helps with substance
Mm,
use or addiction counseling. With therapy, there are medications that can help the client
mm,
with the withdrawals,
mhm.
right? So a lot of stigma about this as well, that people don't reach out for help. But it's really important to spread the awareness that there is help and they don't have to suffer alone with addiction.
Yeah, which addictions is a very taboo subject with a lot of
Right.
stigma. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people tend to do it themselves with best intentions, try harder, and avoiding seeking professional medical help.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. Um, so having these podcasts about these addiction cycle and how our brain gets addicted to substances and what we can do about it is so important, right?
Mm,
This can, if it reaches the right person, maybe they get inspired to ask for help, or maybe they comment on the video and we can
yeah,
guide them to some free resources if they're like financially not able to get help, right? Like how you run the Free Counseling Society of Canada, right, Joseph?
yes,
So
yeah,
for clients who financially are not able to seek help, can reach out to you, right? So there is help. It's just that awareness is a little less sometimes.
yeah. Because which a lot of people when they come for addictions help in counseling,
Mhm.
the first target is to fight, control the addictions, reduce or even stop in a short term.
Yeah.
No matter it's alcohol, smoking cigarettes, vaping, cannabis, or anything.
Mhm.
And so, how would you apply this dopamine four matrix model or some of these ideas here with these steps process to assist them to understand first?
Yes. So first, going over their lifestyle habits, their choices,
Mm,
what
okay.
what do they do in everyday life? So most of our problems or even solutions are in the everyday habits that we do, the micro
Okay.
habits of building a healthy routine for yourself, right? So just going in depth about what is your lifestyle habit, your choices, everyday choices. How do you cope with when something happens externally? Right?
Ah,
How do you
okay.
cope when you get a thought, a negative thought? What do you do about it? Right? What are your
Ah,
strengths and resources? Do you have healthy relationships? Do you have supportive partners? Do you have a therapist? So that's also really healthy to have, right? And do you have, what does safety mean to you? How do you feel safe in your everyday life? Right? Most of our trauma, whatever trauma you have been through, it makes us believe that we are not safe and we can really get stuck in that place. So, safety really helps you regulate your life. So, what makes you
yeah.
feel safe and how you can increase safety in your life so that you can make changes with your substance use, right? Substance use, if you think about drugs or alcohol, right? It's also a form of escapism when you can't cope with external trauma or events. You use it to feel a little better. Sometimes people also say that it makes them feel that they can face life, like it's a crutch to
Yes.
hold when it gets hard. But I want to say that in research, it says that it's not like a crutch, it's actually causing you more pain. And if you didn't have that crutch, you would be even more stronger to face life,
Wow.
right? So for clients, we do look at the lifestyle choices and, like I said, the micro habits, right? And with the dopamine matrix that I was talking about, the healthy pain and not so healthy pain, right? So we can incorporate micro habits of like maybe 10 minutes of walk. We can introduce that initially, or some healthy emotional regulation skills we can teach them. In DBT, there are so many emotional regulation skills that we can use. And teaching these skills to clients can really help them, take a step back when that craving hits them, and use one of these skills on, and maybe it helps them, stop maybe smoking for once a week. Even like a 1 day reduction is a win when it comes to addiction, right? So definitely letting them know how it works, the cycle, and and letting them know that it's actually making things worse. Sometimes is the crucial point, because in their head, if they don't smoke or if they don't drink alcohol, they cannot cope with life.
Hey, yeah. So which you're mentioning, the first step here is a lifestyle analysis about the day-to-day, hourly by hourly, the micro habits.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow.
the micro habits. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so So what happens is, suppose you have, for example, if there is a person is having a throat cancer or something like that, right? For example, his ability to eat or drink is reduced, right?
yeah,
So similarly, when you have any for throat cancer, you can diagnose it. You know that it's physical. You can feel it, all of that. But with mental health issues, first of all, there's stigma, right?
yeah.
And second of all, people are not aware that this is a mental health issue, right?
Okay.
So just like how the throat cancer patient can't eat or drink, because of the cancer, the mental health patient can have debilitating circumstances that they don't know is caused by the mental health issue, right?
Yeah,
And they think that they're broken. They think that something is wrong with them,
yeah,
right? And with addiction, the research says that when you introduce an unnatural dopamine or substance use, if you are already prone to anxiety or depression, if you have schizophrenia in your genes, family history, if you have anything like that, it can trigger the schizophrenia. It can trigger the depression or the anxiety. And it
yeah,
becomes even more harder to quit the substance because of that.
yeah, wow, yeah,
Yeah, studies has shown that if you are prone to schizophrenia through your family genetics, or you do use cannabis on a long-term basis, right?
yeah,
Use of cannabis and genetic predisposition to schizophrenia can trigger the onset of schizophrenia. So connecting these dots are like so important, because we think that something is wrong with us, we are
yes.
broken, or these kind of beliefs can keep us stuck and not know that the truth is it's caused by these substances.
We should talk about these are real medical issues. No matter
Mm-hmm.
it's mental health or physical health, needs to be addressed.
Yes, yes,
Mm,
that's true.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
So awareness is so important about these things.
And you also mentioned on this point here, which there's a lot of suffering going on in a person.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about the anxiety, the not feeling the safety,
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
danger, and all that. These are invisible.
Exactly.
Inside that particular person is very painful. It
Exactly.
is very difficult for another person to judge a lot of times. They think, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And to be able to aware of these, to be sensitive to support is very important rather than just judging.
Exactly.
Try
Exactly.
harder. what's wrong with you, and because they cannot see the suffering compared to like cutting off an arm.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all mental. It's all inside. And
Yes.
because of, no awareness or even stigma, right? If you see the Eastern culture compared to West, in the East, it's more stigmatized. So we don't really ask for help. We suffer in silence. And like you said, right? If there is a cut in the arm, you can see it. But
Yeah.
if a person is suffering inside, it is so hard to detect. And it's not only for the person who is suffering as well doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
It can be like a blind spot, like they think that, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not normal, and that is why I'm suffering. So it just stays there, like you get stuck there, right? So yeah, it's
And
so
feeling
important.
not normal is very scary
It is.
because they
It is.
constantly wondering about why I feel this way. Why?
Yeah, yeah. And if through your life experiences you
Yeah.
have learned that you're not good enough, like for example, right, emotional neglect, if you had
Yes.
neglectful parents or if you have been abandoned by your partner, you can internalize that, saying that I'm not good enough,
Yes.
right? And when something like this happens, like I can't function normally in my everyday life, I feel very horrible inside, I don't know what's happening, there can be a voice saying that, you're not good enough, and that is why.
Yeah.
And the client gets stuck there,
And
right?
also along this line here, which when a lot of people they going through mental health symptoms, they
Yeah.
asking why am I not normal? A
Mhm.
lot of times it's easy to people get stuck on the why rather than moving on to the how to relieve it.
Mm,
They stuck at the why compared to let's go to the how
yes,
to
yes,
cope with it, how to move forward.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many factors can actually determine, if they can or if they can't, like social
Yeah.
situations, relationship, the environment they're in. If a person is in
Exactly.
active abusive situation, it becomes 10 times harder for them to find out how to help themselves, as opposed to
Yes.
a person coming for therapy and actively working, feeling safe and actively
Mm.
working on themselves, right? So important to know that um, sometimes it's not sometimes, I would say that when we internalize saying that I'm not good enough or I'm broken, it's
Mm.
usually the opposite, that the circumstances were that way, the facts of the matter was different than
Yeah.
internalizing it.
Yeah. When people, the other thing in the clinical experience, people get stuck is they are stuck in the why
Mm-hmm.
rather than moving to the how.
Mm-hmm.
They're also stuck in what is right and what is wrong with the judgment. For
Mm-hmm.
example, the people helping them will say, hey, you shouldn't have smoked for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck at the right or wrong. Oh, you do this, you deserve this. Rather
Right.
than moving on to how to make the situation better.
Yeah, yeah. It's really sad. It's really sad when that happens.
Yeah.
Because when we think about these rules of society that, you shouldn't smoke, you
Mm.
shouldn't be a bad person, or you shouldn't,
Yeah.
uh, the word shouldn't, right? It's so heavy that because there is no there is no rules without a clause. So everything has a clause, right? So it is true that you have to be kind to people, but if somebody is actively hurting you, if you're getting slapped on the road, right, you do have the rights to defend yourself,
Yeah.
right? You can't be kind then because you're not being kind to yourself in that case, right? So
Mm.
everything has a clause, but we don't speak about the clause, right? So for
Mm.
example, you shouldn't smoke a cigarette, right? They say that you shouldn't smoke, it's not good for you and all that, but what is helping me? what how is the cigarette helping me? It's helping me cope with the situation,
Yes, yeah.
right? Asking the right questions and finding solutions for how, the coping can be increased without the cigarette is so important, because you can get stuck in, you shouldn't do it, and you
Yeah,
feel guilty
yeah,
for doing it, feel guilty for doing it. And guilt in itself is such a heavy emotion, can keep you stuck for
yeah,
so many years, right?
yeah. That's wonderful here. Which, when you're mentioning about the first step is to do the lifestyle analysis hour by
Mhm.
hour in one day, the micro habits.
Yeah.
And now here you're mentioning about the next thing here is to understand the functions behind the behavior.
Yes.
Because oftentimes people will say, you use drugs because it is fun. But
Hmm.
actually there are other functions. For
Yes.
example, to escape danger, to feel safe, to
Yeah.
escape reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we really need to dig into how is that drug or that substance helping them?
Yes. Yeah.
What are they avoiding by using that, right?
Yeah.
And when we avoid something or we escape something, we don't feel safe. That is what it means, not feeling safe. So how can we build safety so that the client or you or we as human beings can
Yes.
face what we are
Yeah.
avoiding? Because the true healing happens when you face what you're avoiding,
Yeah.
and then you wouldn't need the substance. It's very easy to talk like this, but I understand it's truly hard because of the
Yeah.
experiences you go through, right? For example, you go through like a really horrible trauma that, for example, you witness your loved one getting murdered or something like that,
Yeah.
and that leaves such a lasting impression, and you can get stuck in that for years and years and decades, and you can use substances to cope with that pain.
Yes. Yeah.
Guiding the client to face the grief, to feel the grief in a safe space is
Mhm.
how we can help them. Safety is almost like the first thing we all need, because if we have safety, we can grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because which here you mentioned about the functions behind the behavior, the cause of the behavior, and
Mm,
it really ties on to the safety. With the
yeah.
trauma, the safety, it can be safety in relationships,
Mm,
safety in just being who they are as a person, their identity, safety with
exactly.
their family, and there's a lot of different categories here.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
And and there are so many definitions of safety actually, right?
yeah.
So it's like a spectrum. You can say that you
Okay,
feel,
yes.
yeah, you can say that you feel safe, but what does it
Yeah,
actually mean to you? Right? There is like physical safety, like you're not in danger, like nobody's coming to murder you. That's one kind of safety. The other kind of
yeah,
safety is
yeah,
your
oh,
thoughts. You can
yeah,
get intrusive thoughts and you can have voices in your head saying that you're not good enough. So you're not safe in your own head sometimes. So
mhm.
there's like a whole spectrum of safety that we can explore with the client and what it means to them.
Wow. So in here, number one, lifestyle assessment. And
Hmm.
number two, functions behind the behavior. And
Hmm.
now, which you are going into the safety.
Yeah.
So in the actual session, do you do a safety wheel with different category of safety? The client can fill out this aspect.
Oh, that's a good idea. I
The
have not
safety
done.
wheel here,
Yeah.
wish.
Safety wheel. Yeah, that sounds really good. Because there's so many aspects like we just spoke about, right? I've
Yeah,
never
that's
even
number
done
three here.
that.
Number three here is find out how to achieve safety in these
Mm.
categories because different people will have different things in this safety wheel.
Wow, that's a really
Safety
good idea.
assessment.
Safety assessment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good idea, right? I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, we should definitely incorporate that.
Yeah. And and which here it is really true. Every single day in counseling, people are coming because of danger in relationships,
Hmm.
danger in their finances or work, danger in their accommodation, or just danger being who they are and who
Exactly.
they are not.
Exactly. Yes. And the last danger, right? Being who they are, that is one of the most debilitating dangers. Because
Yes.
the external factors, you can have a separation between them, like the finance, it's separate from me. Relationship, it's separate from me. But if you don't feel
Mhm.
safe inside of yourself, you are with yourself 24/7. So I can only imagine how your life is.
Wow.
Like when you wake up first thing in the morning, you don't feel safe because you don't feel safe in your
Yes.
mind or in your body. Even your body can feel unsafe, especially when you have illness, right? You don't
Yeah.
feel safe in your body. So, yeah, definitely. That's a good insight.
And feeling safe here is really the goal here in counseling psychology
Mm,
to really transform people from who they are to who they choose to be.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Who,
Wow.
who they are to who choose to be. I know that you have this tagline, Joseph. I really
Exactly
I
here.
really like
Wish.
that.
Ah,
It's, yeah, who you choose to be. Exactly.
yeah. So Wish here today we have a wonderful thing that you talk about. You
Mhm.
talk about the process of the dopamine addictions from the unnatural dopamine
Yeah.
to adaptation to the
Mhm.
brain down regulate the dopamine. The brain try to balance with the more pain and
Yeah.
then leading to the mood problems.
Mhm.
And then we also talk about the actual therapy.
Mhm.
Step one, lifestyle assessment
Yeah.
analysis.
Mhm.
Number two, look at the functions of all the behavior in that micro habits.
Mhm.
And then number three, we're gonna do the safety wheel here to look at how to achieve the safety,
Mhm.
how to fine tune that micro habits to actually go into different categories.
Yeah.
And we also talk about the safety tie onto the identity is the most crucial.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Wow, so we share, if you have a few things to say to the viewer, what would that
Mhm.
be today?
So I would like to say that having this awareness of your micro habits, of any habits that cause unnatural spike in dopamine, like addictive behaviors, for example, doom scrolling, using your phone, and a substance use, alcohol, nicotine, cannabis, any kind of substances, um, and binge eating as well, right? It gives you a lot of happiness. That when I say happiness, I don't mean that happiness is bad. It's truly bad. You do deserve to be happy, and you do deserve to eat well, and be happy in that way. When you do it as a form of coping with something bad happens, for example, I got yelled at by my boss and I want to binge eat now because I just need that quick fix. I can't deal with it. So when that happens as a habit, even if it is internal, you get like a thought, intrusive thought that, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I should have done this. And then you reach out for that cigarette or a glass of wine because of that thought. That is when it becomes dangerous. That is when you can get stuck in that cycle, right? And it can exasperate all the underlying mental health issues. If you're prone to anxiety, it can exacerbate that. If you're prone to depression, it can do that. It can multiply that, right? The awareness that your misery is multiplied by the substances you use is what I wanted to tell the viewers today.
Thank you, Wish here. We have all your information in the description,
Yeah.
so viewers, fellow clinicians can contact you for more details.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Joseph.
Wish here, next time we will talk more about these topics and more techniques to help the clients. And thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for the space to talk, Joseph. I truly appreciate it. Thank
Bye,
you.
Wish.
Bye bye. Take care.
Okay, Wish here, amazing here. What do you think?